say is that after a streamer admits to scamming viewers on Twitch, Twitch plans to prohibit streaming unlicensed gambling sites with slot machines, roulette, or dice starting on October 18th. Okay. And starting June 1st next year, so 9 months from now, Twitch says subscription revenue above 100,000 will be split 50-50, not 70-30 for streamers on premium deals, citing hosting costs. Oh, that's going to suck because you're going to have people go right up to 99,000 and then jump out and start a new account or something. Anyway, next up, NVIDIA unveils something called the RTX Remix, a free AI modding tool built on Omniverse. That's what they're calling the metaverse, by the way, which I have to say is kind of a cooler name, that lets modders quickly create RTX mods for supported DirectX 8 and DirectX 9 games. Lovely. Microsoft releases Windows 11 first major update, adding start menu folders, more snap layouts, dark mode improvements, live captions, voice access, and more. And a New York judge orders Tether to produce documents related to the backing of US stablecoin USDT in a lawsuit claiming Tether conspired to issue USDT to pump Bitcoin prices. An analyst of Twitch streams, is this for real? We have 3 Twitch stories in the top 10. This is wild. An analysis of Twitch streams from October 2020 to August 2022 shows Twitch's moderation tools often failed to stop children streaming and adults grooming them. Okay, YouTube plans to expand its partner program to give 45% of Shorts ad revenue to creators who have more than 1,000 subscribers and 10 million views on Shorts within a 90-day period. I wonder if that's automatic. That would be fantastic, by the way, because you have a whole lot of YouTubers who aren't making any money at all because they're not really trying to. They're making videos for non-commercial reasons, and yet if they were to turn on monetization on their videos, they probably could make money if they wanted to. I wonder if this is going to be on by kind of a default, if you automatically reach these thresholds. Am I naive enough to believe that YouTube would just tell you, oh, by the way, you just made some money unknowingly? I doubt that. That's not usually the nature of big greedy companies like that. But
if they did, that would be definitely an amazing approach to endear
right,
your content providers. Because if you as an organization prompt to say, hey, you could make something and there's really no additional strings attached, talk about building a loyalty.
right. Well, they got to do
They
something.
they
Yeah.
they would, of course, do with tax withholding and stuff. They'd want you to fill out their fantastic W8BN forms and all that type of stuff before they'd actually give you the money, presumably. But it'd be really cool if it was just there sitting for you,
But
at
it would
least for
be
a period
really
of
cool
time.
if they even just prompt you, say you could have made blah 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 if you set up, and it's like, oh, okay, you know.
Also, YouTube unveils something called Creator Music, which lets video creators, browse a catalog of songs and use songs by either buying the rights to use those songs in their videos or sharing the revenue generated from their own videos to those rights holders, which that's wickedly clever because then you could use a song without any upfront cost, but now you have to share the revenue. I don't know, some split. You have to give 30, 40, 50% of the monetization from your video to the music holder. Really interesting concept. We'll be launching in beta or out of beta in the US this fall, meaning any day now. NVIDIA unveils its first, by the way, that concept of rev sharing for collaboration, access to creativity, it could get really, really cool in the conversation we were having yesterday around Dolly 2 and celebrities and what happens when I say, hey, make me a photo of Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin peeing on Donald Trump. And it could
You have
say,
the
oh,
strangest fantasies, Tyler.
yeah, well, um, I'm sure that tape exists somewhere. But the if Dolly 2 generated that, Dolly 2 might say, Donald Trump owns his likeness. He's contacted us. Here's the deal for using images. We can go ahead and generate that for you, but Donald Trump will get 20% of all revenue generated from this video clip or image or what have you. You see where I'm going with this. And by the way, so does Dolly 2. Dolly 2 is going to get 30%. You're going to get 50%. Donald Trump's, because you're using a celebrity in your creation, is also entitled to a percent. We will collect that on their behalf. And now you've got celebrities being like, damn right, people can use my likeness. And because it's a whole new potential revenue stream. Musicians as well. It gets that potentially is one vision for a future of creativity where, as it works now, musicians create songs. Their songs get used in cafes and bars around the world, and there's these collection agencies who go around collecting fees from bars and hair salons and everywhere else who are playing music on their behalf, and then share those earnings with them. And Sarah can talk about this for days, I'm sure. But the digital version of this with the images and even future song creations. What if I start writing a song and I say, "Hey AI, finish this song and include Bob Marley in my song," and it turned this into a Bob Marley song with him performing in it, and they'll be like, "Yeah, sure, we can do that for you, but he's now going to get 50% of it." And it's automated through AI. Not so different in the way that this YouTube music library rev share model is happening. This is wildly cool in a way that the platforms could automate rev sharing for co-creation. Any thought on that, Sarah?
Just agreeing with you. I think it's cool. And as you say, I could speak about it for days, so I won't.
It is really cool. This is kind of it just gives more options to artists and creators if they want their creations to be collaborated on, and on they could dictate the terms as to how their creations get you know developed further, for lack of a better word. Anyway, really interesting.
Exactly. We want more of that.
Yeah,
Much
more
more of
options.
that.
Right, artists love more options, and especially scalable ones like this. So
And to actually get some kind of pay for what they're doing.
exactly right, and yeah. Oh wow, Sarah, this gets really interesting because, um, well, in this case, gosh, this makes me wonder if Spotify might start competing with soundtrack Epidemic Sound, where although there's a whole bunch of un you know you can pay for licenses. Why can't you pay for licenses on Spotify? That would be wild. Anyway,
Of
Meta.
course, then you're the same as usual problem of it being the difference with epidemic sounds signing uh, things that are not owned by the labels. So I won't go there because there'll be an entire evening, afternoon,
Yeah,
night, wherever you are, morning. We'll do that.
yeah,
We have a session like that coming up, right, Tyler?
yeah. Sarah does rooms exactly on stuff like this. So follow Sarah if you like conversations like the one we're dancing on the edge of. NVIDIA unveils its first SaaS and IaaS. I don't even know what IaaS is. Infrastructure as a service. Okay. With Omniverse, there's a service suite for artists, developers, and enterprise teams to build and run metaverse apps. Here it comes. So NVIDIA, I think, if NVIDIA gets together with um, Epic Games, with Unreal, and uh, what's the other? What was David's company?
What, Unity, you mean?
Unity, yes. If Unity and NVIDIA get together, oh my goodness, the Omniverse thing could get really cool really quickly. Anyway, next, as Meta shapes its response to regulatory scrutiny, the company begins touting its declining market value, down 60% since the spring, to deny having a monopoly. So, and this is because in the U.S., well, some attorney generals all got together and it got frozen. And now it's back on, and now Facebook is saying, "But wait! Before you beat the living shit out of me, I'm already laying on the ground in a bloody mess already. Before you decide to continue to jump on our head, um, we're already getting the snot beat out of us." So, Wall Street Journal says they
So,
have sources. Yes.
just briefly on the topic of both monopolies and Unity hooking up with NVIDIA, just just worth remembering that the reason PCs are what they are in terms of price for performance and everything else compared to Mac, I mean, they're much better for gaming and everything, is because of the openness and that you can choose. You've always got two big players. You've got two big CPUs, AMD and Intel. You've got two big video cards. You've got NVIDIA and you've got ATI, and so forth. So, or AMD. So yeah, if there was a hookup where a tech stack only worked on NVIDIA, that may not be good for the market in the long term. Might do some short term cool things, but just an observation. Because it'd be more like Apple, closed system, vertically
Right.
integrated.
Right.
Less competition, higher
Right.
prices,
I
all the
think
good stuff.
I'm assuming we're going to have an Apple horse in this race at some point.
Well, they
Uh,
were the leader originally, but then they thought that they'd do better off in the serious stuff, the word processing and boring stuff. Yeah, I think they might get back into it. It's not a difficult switch for a game developer, for example, to flick to say, "Hey, build for Mac as well." I mean, you don't just flick a switch. There's a load of testing. There's a lot to do, but they just historically haven't because Mac people weren't so much into gaming because their GPUs sucked. But I think it could change rapidly. I'm personally trying to convince a few game developers I know to just say, "Hey, just build for Mac." The people who've got money to spend, they might want a game on Mac, and we'll see. It's going to be a vicious loop that may start. It could happen really quickly, technically, if the developers decided to do it. You could very quickly have most games available on Mac. But I don't know what the current percentage is. I'd estimate 20% of Steam games are available for Mac, but no technical barriers that I know of anymore.
Salesforce announces something called Net Zero Marketplace, which will aggregate offset providers, meaning carbon offset, and rating agencies for carbon credits, launching next month in the US. A marketplace for carbon credits that will aggregate offset providers and rating agencies. And TikTok expands its political content rules to limit fundraising by politicians and political groups, ahead of a full ban on fundraising. Starting Wednesday, TikTok is expanding its election rules to make it harder for politicians and political groups to fundraise using the platform.
What a way to get ready to get themselves regulated. Now the politicians will start to care even more now that they can't make money off of it.
For sure.
Can they sell merchandise over Shopify?
God knows there was more than a few red hats sold. Um, a leaked draft of the EU's markets in crypto assets legislation urges a substance over form enforcement approach, meaning the rules could apply to some NFTs. So it's a leaked draft of the reviewed by CoinDesk shows the rules could apply to fractionalized NFTs. And then The Verge just did a review of the Apple Watch Ultra. They say it's comfortable, good battery life, the action button, and it's very durable, but no offline maps, more aspirational than hardcore, and too big for some people. NVIDIA unveils the RTX 6000, its new flagship GPU for professional visualization market, offering double to 4x the performance of the previous version. WhatsApp announces an expanded partnership with Salesforce to let businesses manage their WhatsApp conversations with customers from the Salesforce platform. Now, that is precisely the business was in as a startup. I built a startup that did exactly this. I built a tool, a dashboard for businesses to manage SMS conversations from their customers across their enterprise, even if they have like Starbucks or Safeway, supermarkets, hotels, Hilton, what have you, Bank of America, on and on. And the branches would have signs that say, hey, send a text message and let us know what we're doing right or wrong or whatever. In McDonald's, we even had stores where the staff were wearing, there was a phone number under their name tag that says, how am I doing? Text my manager. And the numbers, the messages would then get routed into a centralized dashboard and etc. And now WhatsApp and Salesforce is a dashboard for customer service already. And this is a natural move for WhatsApp. It's brilliant. I can say that now that I'm not competing in it. But if I was a big brand, I would jump all over this. Although I wonder what they're charging. But very smart move for WhatsApp. It'll get brands promoting their WhatsApp numbers in their stores and promoting WhatsApp as a communication platform, which I think will be far better than email, far faster. And by the way, I, as a incredibly tiny, lean startup, was even able to build in automation in the responses. So I have to imagine WhatsApp is going to cook up some really cool automation in the responses or options. And in fact, they already do. I use WhatsApp Business more than any other app by far already, as Ben well knows. And Ben already saw how I use some automation in my WhatsApp for Business.
Yeah, I
Just
was
an app.
impressed with that. Yeah, I
Right.
did feel like I was bugging you on the wrong channel, but yeah,
No,
it's cool.
yeah. And I just to really make the point, I basically run a hotel, a beach resort, in a nearly automated fashion via WhatsApp. All of our guests, uh, uh, because we don't put phones in the rooms like most hotels do, like when you want to call the front desk. And we don't even have a front desk. We do everything through WhatsApp. So customers are constantly sending in messages and they're receiving replies totally exactly relevant to what they wanted in a near instant way. And it's super cool.
Tyler,
Yeah.
interesting about that. So, first time I experienced that was back in 2019. So we're over in Florence and we're over in Valentino and Ferragamo buying stuff there. And literally, the two sales reps from both places, it literally automated. All the time when they're having sales. You know how Italy has their big sales at like the beginning of July.
Yeah.
So I'm constantly getting updates that way, and it's usually the same sales rep, which I always thought was interesting. And the reason why I prefer buying it from Italy, it's like literally $1,000 cheaper than it is buying it from the U.S.
Okay. As part of the pilot for the integration, L'Oreal Group brands will use WhatsApp to reconnect with consumers who had previously left items in a shopping cart and will send them coupons and offers right from the chat thread. Yeah, that's exactly what I used to do. When people would send a message to Yogurtland, and Yogurtland would say, do we have your favorite flavor today, or are we missing your favorite flavor? Because they rotate the flavors very regularly, and people get very angry when you don't have their favorite flavor and they just drove an hour to get there. And then they leave you bad Yelp reviews because you don't have their French vanilla. And now instead of complaining on Yelp, they say, oh, yeah, you're missing my French vanilla. Now you have a quantifiable way to see which flavors you should be bringing back. And better yet, you can notify every time you bring back a flavor, which is every 3 days, you can notify everyone who was missing that flavor automatically. So you can see how powerful semi-automation SMS-based conversations can be for enterprise. I mean, I know this category probably better than anybody. I sound like Donald Trump, and I'm well aware of that, but it's actually somewhat true in this case. Yeah, it's really, really powerful. So I don't know why it's um, some taken so long to get to this point, but here it comes, and that's a perfect partnership, Salesforce and WhatsApp. Okay, next up, um, where's the next story? There we go. Bloomberg says they've done research that Amazon Air, that's the planes that bring your products to you. Amazon Air ran 194 daily cargo flights on average this month, up from 164 a year ago and 187 6 months ago. The slowest growth since 2020. Yeah, Bloomberg, Amazon's growth is slowing because they captured the whole fucking enchilada, you dumb fuck. This naturally happens when every person on the planet's using your shit. You naturally are going to saturate, like Netflix. Netflix is going to have slowing growth. Disneyland, huge, iconic brands eventually saturate markets, and then you have
Hey,
slowing growth.
Tyler, the one thing that they miss when they write these articles too, or particularly that one, the minute they were saying slowing growth, my mind was like, yeah, well, your number of flights and deliveries may change, but what about tonnage? You know,
Yeah,
so they could be using larger planes or smaller planes, so their tonnage could be increasing too.
you're right. They could be bigger planes, and I can almost guarantee you they are bigger planes now than they were in 2020. Great point. Pano AI, which uses AI and computer vision to offer active wildfire detection, raises 20 million, led by Initialized Capital. Q&A with Flexport CEO Ryan Peterson on building supply chain software business, managing large customers, scaling the company. That could be a really interesting interview. I've heard Ryan do interviews before, and one of the most interesting podcast episode I ever heard was Ryan, the CEO of Flexport, talking about container ships. Blew my mind. Easily the most interesting podcast I ever have listened to. You can try and find it. Ryan Peterson, um, Flexport podcast, and then see if you can find it. And he talks about the history of the container ships. I had no idea how insanely interesting that is. Truly phenomenally interesting. And he,
And you know who corners the market right now on actually container production and ownership, right?
no,
China.
in terms of building the
Building
yeah,
over 80%.
yeah, that doesn't surprise me. Yeah, their economy is largely.
That's why when the last U.S. president tried to put a tariff on everything, one of the things that they had to retract was when they realized uh, container production and ownership.
Yeah,
You can now produce containers from bamboo, densified bamboo, compressed material that are lighter, cheaper, and more durable, and also biodegrade if they happen to fall into the ocean.
wild. More durable than steel.
Densified bamboo has greater compressive strength and tensile strength than steel.
Wild.
Ooh.
Interesting. I wonder if it would float too. That way you don't have to go all the way to the bottom.
Yeah, it would
That's
for a
that's
while.
that's more about whether it's watertight. You know, it doesn't matter. You can make it out of lead; it'll still
Yeah,
float because
just about to
as
ask
long as
whether
it's
is it
just
The
waterproof.
fire.
as long as
Is
it's
it
just
waterproof,
flavoring water.
Albert? Or it was sip
Yeah,
the
yeah,
go ahead.
it's treated, and it's treated, so you would
Wax.
it's treated to protect it on the out exterior.
But how about fire? if you have fire there.
Yeah, it should be made fireproof too. I mean, these are problems that have been worked out in order to start the production up.
That could be done through a treatment, a fire retardation treatment or something.
You know what
Um,
I
yeah.
out
Can
just
can you look into what the tensile strength actually is?
I'm sure there are spec sheets on that. You can find uh, consult the Oracle Google.
So Google,
Wouldn't that be dependent on who actually produces these? So the spec sheet would be dependent based upon what company actually produces them. So different companies might have different ways of production, which would lead to different tensile strength.
Well, densified bamboo is a fairly straightforward process, and it's spreading into a number of different industries. So you can look up densified bamboo, and there's a lot of interesting stuff on it.
Yeah, yeah. I'm seeing here 70 MPa.
densification of bamboo.
But I saw some information or I mean introduction. It fits if you use it as a like a portable home. I think that's a good way to use it. For the shipping overseas, maybe not that good, but for if you for searching for like a quick built home using this kind of prefab bamboo container, I think that is good choice. Yes, I've been seeing some introductions for this right now.
Okay,
Well, I would
Google.
have to think that, like, so if you were to look at bridges, a lot of what supports a bridge is structural steel. So I'm still wanting to look into what the actual tensile strength is of these bamboo containers because I have a hard time believing that the tensile strength would be greater than structural steel.
Yeah, and that's where I was going to go with that too, because one of the bigger new crazes over here in the U.S. is literally building homes and pools and a ton of other things out of shipping containers. And basically, because they're cost effective, you can get one, from $2,500 to $5,000.
Okay,
Yeah,
Google.
you might care about tensile strength in a suspension bridge or something. I'm not sure you care so much in a shipping container about tensile strength, compressive strength, bending, a few others. But tensile strength is probably not the most important, I'm guessing.
Yeah, it is actually, depending on where their lifting points are. There's a moment created while lifting the shipping container.
Here we go for the fifth time. Let me try and get this right. Google plans to integrate Google Tasks reminders across the G Suite apps, including Google Assistant and Calendar and Docs and Sheets, in coming months as opt-in at first. So they're working on a big update to Google Tasks to embed it into their other products like Google Calendar, Google Assistant. I kind of like that. I wish Siri worked much more closely with the reminders, and the Apple would be far better at these kinds of things. It's actually one of the things that I'm. When is the Google event? Is it October 7th? It's coming soon, isn't it? And no doubt they're going to showcase this stuff at that event, so we'll be able to watch it in action. Um, Next, Coinbase announces something called Node, which is a set of APIs to build on multiple blockchains, including support for NFTs. The free plan offers up to 120,000 daily Ethereum requests. Nova Labs and T-Mobile signed a 5-year deal to launch Helium Mobile, a 5G MVNO service for smartphones that combines coverage from the two companies' networks, although has nothing to do with the Helium uh, network. This is, let me make sure of that. Nova Labs, Helium, Nova Labs, built on Helium. Maybe it is the same Helium network. From the founding team of the Helium network, I guess it is. People, it is Human Powered Network. That is them. Announcing Nova Labs from the founding team of the Helium Network. Interesting. Nova Labs. Nova Labs inks agreement with T-Mobile to cover 5G dead spots in Helium Network. Nova Labs teams up with T-Mobile for crypto-powered Helium mobile service. Interesting. Okay. Next up is Amazon refreshes its Fire HD 8 lineup for the first time in 2 years and adds a tap to Alexa feature to control the assistant using touch. SoftBank CEO Masayoshi Son plans to visit Seoul for the first time in 3 years to discuss a strategic alliance for ARM with Samsung. New Zealand's Prime Minister announces an expansion of the Christchurch Call anti-online hate project, including investments by the U.S. Microsoft Twitter. Chuck Schumer and other U.S. lawmakers urged the White House to sanction China's WMTC for allegedly violating export rules by supplying NAND chips to Huawei. Ah, interesting. So more sanctions for China, please. Um, a company called MoonPay helps Universal Studios create a Halloween Horror Nights NFT scavenger hunt in its Orlando and Hollywood theme parks. Google begins rolling out a Results About You tool on its Android app to let users see and remove results that contain their personal identifiable information. Oh, that's interesting. I think because they see the writing on the wall, they're going to start, they know that's coming over the horizon. And they might as well beat everybody to the punch and look magnanimous and not like a bad guy by letting you control the data that's Google indexes about you. Um, Adobe Figma, we read that. Tel Aviv company, which aims to be the Google Maps of the U.S. underground utility infrastructure. That's crazy. Raises 30 million. Meta tests letting average users inform its content policies, including panels asking about problematic climate information on Facebook. Lena Khan from the FTC says she's extremely disturbed by Twitter's former head of security, Mudge, and his claim that Twitter misled the FTC about its compliance with the 2011 consent decree and plans to investigate. Oh boy. Mission accomplished. Mudge got the FTC boss all fired up about Twitter. Facebook adds Pages feature to let creators endorse each other. That's interesting. Make content exclusive to top fans and subscribers. That's also interesting. Earn rising creator labels and more. TikTok employed, according to Forbes, there was internal meetings where TikTok employed a two-tier moderation system with more lenient treatment for influencers, celebrities, and other VIPs that had more than 5,000 followers. Yeah, well, they're free to do that. By the way, Twitter does in its own ways as well, as far as I can tell. A teardown of the iPhone 14 Pro Max shows that the new X65 satellite modem and a similar internal design for the 13 Pro Max, making the device difficult to repair. Those are your big boring headlines for today. Now we go into the tweets. Did anyone have a tweet that they want to make sure we get into today? Okay, so Thomas Tong has
Just
one.
something,
Yep.
just a quick blurb. After that 60 Minutes interview, there was some ships that were sailing through the strait, and that seems to be a signal. It's kind of routine, so it's not a big news story, but it kind of happened shortly after that 60 Minutes interview, which I found interesting.
So BB just found in China. Which app is this on? It looks like of some variation of Alibaba. MadeInChina.com. So BB found a Chinese site full of Chinese suppliers, very similar to Alibaba, where you can get um, prefab bamboo container homes, some of which are even expandable. So it starts out the size of a container, and then it expands like a like a transformer to three times the normal size. And
It's the price like just 4,000.
yes, and those of you who are wondering, you can get a ready-made. It says in the title, ready-made portable, because it fits on the back of a semi truck. Portable, ready-made, modular home out of bamboo for the low price of about $4,000.
And
So
once our states, counties, metro areas put their permits and everything on that, it'll probably end up costing about 50,000. Just kidding, but you know what I mean.
But in the
I know exactly.
primitive days, I think bamboo is the way that they use to build a lot of things, right? I mean, they don't have other options. They use this bamboo, no?
Yeah, there's a tiny home movement here that's starting to percolate pretty well. You just got to be in the right state to use it if you want to go, like drop
Because
it
I
and
guess this
go.
is good for summer, not for winter.
Yeah, bamboo is used in the region quite a bit for scaffolding
Yeah.
as well.
But I love the idea of getting a $4,000 uh, home, three times the size of a shipping container, and yeah, set that thing up off
Yeah.
grid. Get
You
yourself.
then you get the 100,000 and then just pay 4,000 on the cost. How good
I'm
is
just.
that?
I mean, there's so many people are complaining about housing prices and whatnot.
Exactly.
Get Starlink on that bad boy and some solar panels and an air uh, atmospheric water generator. Make a little farm. Make some TikTok videos and call it a day. Okay, so Forbes headline says that WeWork's co-founder Adam Newman's new real estate startup sounds an awful lot like a startup he previously invested in called Alfred. So the new one's called Flow, which just got 350 million in funding, largely from Andreessen Horowitz, and its similarities to Alfred's business raise questions about Newman's motives and concerns about possible conflicts of interest. So is he ripping off an idea that he previously invested in?
It looks like he's kind that will.
A spokesperson for Newman uh, denied that the new company will compete with Alfred and disputed that account, saying the two board members resigned merely due to the risk of public appearance of conflict of interest. And the Forbes got a quote from a VC investor and lecturer at UC Berkeley's School of Business, and the quote says, "It's optically not good," and they use that as the main centerpiece of the whole article. Okay, now faces one of the largest. So yeah, they show a photo of the CEO of Alfred, named Marcella, who now faces one of her largest investors, Adam Newman, competing with her real estate technology startup. Newman took 2 board seats at Alfred as part of his investment, though he delegated them to managers of his family office. Okay. So next one is from Thomas Tong, that Hilton plans to design hotel rooms for astronauts aboard Starlab in space. Hilton has become the official hotel partner of Voyager Space to build a private space station in low Earth orbit called Starlab. And Thomas just found one that new sugar substitutes in citrus could change food and beverage industry in a world first. Researchers discovered natural sweeteners in citrus, a group of fruits that could be produced prevalently all over the world. BB found one from South China Morning Post about a tiny robot pill from a Chinese team could change the future of heart surgery. It's basically a pill a little bigger than a centimeter, a soft shell robot, can be propelled along from the outside by a magnetic field as internal liquid heats up to create never before seen powerful thrust. Okay. What else? BB has one that Saudi Arabia buys a pair of SpaceX astronaut seats. So they're going to get up into space. What else do we have here? We have the Ukraine one. We got the Putin news. Iranian women, we covered that. And Pakistan collected $40 million from people to build a dam, then spent $63 million on advertising it. Someone needs to open a business school in Tehran, apparently. FBI is hunting the Grand Theft Auto 6 leaker who may be associated with a hacker group. Take-Two Interactive, Rockstar Games, and Uber are cooperating with the FBI in a widespread investigation on recent major hacks like the Grand Theft Auto 6 leak. Engineers create the highest specific strength titanium alloy using 3D printed technologies and techniques. Okay, tiny soft robot can splint into tinier bits, then reassemble after passage through small spaces. That's kind of clever. Engineered dental coating exceeds hardness of natural tooth enamel. So we're going to have good teeth after all. And gravity-defying spa turns a mountain village on its head. And that's one of the weirdest looking architectural projects I've ever seen. I just retweeted that one. NASA to broadcast first asteroid redirect on Monday. Oh, they're going to try and redirect an asteroid out in space, and it will be broadcasted. Why not? What else? That's pretty much
So I
it.
wonder, hey Tyler, I wonder if they're liable if they accidentally their calculations are off and they redirect it and it lands somewhere on Earth and destroys something. What's their liability?
Well, I'm sure they have asteroid negligence insurance. That's. I would love to read that insurance policy. Just does it cover negligence with regard to
That would be hilarious.
miscalculations of moving the asteroid? Um, what else? That seems to be it for today. Oh, U.S. and Canadian warships sail through the Taiwan Strait after Biden vows to defend Taiwan. And China, no doubt, would say that's a provocation. And that's the idea. We're going to continue to do things that China perceives as a provocation. We're going to poke that little panda into a tizzy. And then it's going to
Well,
lash out.
Well,
And we're
so they find tizzy with stuff that's perfectly legal with international law. That's the whole point,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
So, and that's their
exactly.
strategy is like we have a problem with everything even outside of our borders, and that's their whole kind of context that they rely on. But that's what that's why we have to push back on that because it violates international, or it doesn't violate, but it runs in the face of international standards and laws and things.
But we would the reason that we're seeing so many in such quick succession uh, of these pokes are getting more regular. You might have noticed, and that's because China's in a very vulnerable moment economically and socially, and it's kind of an ideal time for to provoke them into almost forcing them. We could force them very easily into attacking Taiwan simply by hinting semi-officially that Taiwan is independent, and they would have to prove that it's not, or lose Taiwan, which sounds trivial, perhaps. I can assure you, from the Chinese perspective, that's not trivial at all. To Mr. Xi Jinping, that is his life's work, is to reunite Taiwan with China. He's banking his entire legacy for centuries to come on reunification of Taiwan with the mainland. So the idea that they would just let someone declaim independence is not going to happen. He would, in fact, have to attack at that point. So
In a few
what
weeks,
happened?
he may be re-elected to continue his term.
Yeah, October 16th. So basically, before that, any poked pound of this thing won't arose a dramatic reaction from the China. They were found the excuse. It's just like Tyler said yesterday. It's like, oh, the American, the Biden administration are trying to lure us into a conflict, unnecessary conflict. They will always find excuses, and especially she needs to win this election to continue his administration. So that's why I said it's safe before the October 16th, before they finish their Congress. So
Well, one thing 3 days ago, you could find it in Reuters, CNBC, you name it. There was an interview with Biden that basically said that the U.S. would send forces to help defend Taiwan um, if there was
60
an
minutes.
unprecedented attack. So that'll be interesting because we're often about big talk on sanctions, not big talk on troops, and we'll see how long the bipartisan love fest continues on this in the U.S.
Okay. Real quick here. Armish just sent in one. Exposure to much longer mobile screen life. Oh, early puberty in girls surged in the pandemic. Oh, that's wild. And we may finally know why. And it's not the virus.
Hmm?
Apparently, it might be exposure to much longer mobile screen light is causing early puberty in girls. Too much TikTok. Or maybe it's all of the Justin Bieber videos that they're watching on TikTok. Maybe it's what they're watching, not the screen light. Um, Vinay found one about Google in India. Google has a loan app problem in India that has no fix. And 1 out of 4 iPhones may be manufactured in India in just 3 short years. Yes, I can guarantee you that will happen. I'll bet it will be more than 1 out of 4. Could living in a bamboo home help solve climate crisis? Luis just found. Um, I think so. I think so because bamboo grows like a goddamn weed, and if you build your home out of it, it's hardly a burden to the ecology.
Are you still
Uh,
planning on that startup with Chris?
about carpet bombing. I reached out to Chris Sacca about that, and
Mm.
they said it was interesting, and I've not heard a follow up since. But they asked where, and how would you do that? I suggested doing it in a collaboration with like an Indian reservation in Florida, which because that's an area where Indian reservations still get a decent amount of water and rainfall, and I would love to try that, to do carbon drawdown with carpet bombing bamboo seeds inside the bamboo belt where bamboo can grow. Although you could do genetically modified bamboo seeds that are drought resistant, and then we could draw down all of the carbon in the atmosphere with a if you did enough bamboo about the size of the U.S. continental U.S. on the planet, like if you just carpet bombed bamboo seeds in places where it could grow in the bamboo belt, we wouldn't have climate change.
There's a recent remake of the H.G. Wells Time Machine where the protagonist goes 70,000 years into the future, and everything is bamboo. Bamboo is everywhere.
Yeah, the
By
key
the
is
way,
treating it like they do in Bali, where they make these incredible the green school, and now it's the daughter of the guy who made the green school is now making these incredibly beautiful, very expensive homes.
mm,
You could call them villas, although really really beautiful structures out of bamboo. And if you haven't seen them, you should. You just Google the green school Ubud or just green school Bali, and you'll see that kind of set the precedence for what his daughter is now doing, and although she's taking it to the next level, and it's beyond cool. And by the way, the guy who commissioned her to build a house, he spent about $300,000 building this house out of bamboo, and that might sound like a lot until you realize he rents it out for $1,000 a night on Airbnb. So he makes his money
mm.
back in a year. Yeah.
Tyler, this is Iram. I'm sorry I joined the stage late, but you have moved along the study about the blue light exposure and precocious puberty. May I comment on that?
Yeah, go ahead, Aaron.
Okay. Um, in my opinion, it's not proven in any scientific study that blue light have any impact on the hormones which are responsible for puberty in males or females, and precocious puberty, which is like achieving um, the or activation of the um, gland, the pineal gland and different parts of your brain that cause the hormones to kind of start releasing earlier than the regular normal expected biological age is only resultant of perhaps a tumor or some other kind of abnormality inside the brain. None of the studies have proven that the association with the blue light exposure is you know a cause of early or precocious puberty. So I'm kind of not sure whether this study is valid or not, or the results are misconstrued or misrepresented. Um, I can quickly research. I think this study that was mentioned earlier is not a good one, or kind of is not peer reviewed, not approved by scientists, not published, or if it's published, it's not published in a reputable paper, like a journal. So I would contest that. That's what I just wanted to share, because many studies are there, but not all studies are good enough or peer reviewed or proven. So as of right now, there are no studies proving blue light exposure and precocious puberty relationship.
And even if it is a good study, usually they need multiple studies and you wait for a meta analysis which is sometimes a problem because some things are hard to get money to study. So there's kind of a difficulty in that area. Anyway, thanks. I'm done.
Yeah, but this is like a lesson in terms of the news articles or, references made towards any studies, making it sound like something legitimate, which is not. So we need to kind of take a little bit of caution and careful
Yeah, but
analysis
Aaron, you have
before.
not read the article yet, right?
I can tell you, Cheryl, that blue light is not
I
associated
think
with
it is
Prakasha.
better to just read it first to give it the benefit of doubt, and then before we make those comments. Hey, by the way, Ben, are you going to start your room early or going to be in
Oh,
50 minutes time?
Cheryl, I got this one.
Uh-huh.
This news here, published September 18th. A study did not find screen time causes early onset of puberty. Scientists have criticized new research claiming excessive smartphone use can be linked to early puberty onset. Research is unpublished, yet to be peer reviewed, was promoted through a press release packed with wild speculation, offering a perfect case study in bad science communication. And on Friday, September 16th, a number of news headlines popped up reporting on some pretty startling news research. Apparently, scientists had discovered, they are kind of mentioning how this, according to the news, uh, blue light exposure via smartphone or tablet screen time could alter child's hormone level, hasten the onset of puberty. But this is not really what the research found, and this is like a speculative story which suddenly spread so widely. Story being began to, I can share this article with
Yeah, you
you
know what,
from New
Aaron?
Atlas.
Actually, just now Tyler just briefly went through. You brought it up again, so you are bringing more attention to the article, even if it's not peer reviewed. Okay, Tyler, are you still there?
Yep.
Hey, Cheryl, Tyler,
Hey.
really quickly, did we talk about this movement? I don't know if it started yesterday, but I saw the TikToks yesterday. It's sort of tech adjacent. Women are cutting their hair and burning their hijabs, and I'm wondering
Ah,
if it's sort of
yes.
a online protest. Have we talked about that a little bit? I know it's kind of non-tech.
We did at the
Briefly
start
at the
of the day.
beginning, yeah.
Yeah. It's in Iran
Oh, we
because
did.
a young lady was
Yeah.
shot for revealing too much of her head, and so women in Iran are protesting by burning hijabs. I had not heard that they're cutting their hair, but perhaps they're doing that to obfuscate their appearance as a woman, so that they don't
Yeah.
get in trouble as well.
Yeah. So what I saw yesterday, and Laura in the audience, I believe, brought it up to me, and it's kind of going viral on TikTok. There's all these women that are burning their hijabs, but also they're cutting their hair. I was trying to read more about it, but it's kind of, I hate to liken it to the Arab Spring, but like the idea that like people are really starting these major protest movements online using these platforms. It's really, really fascinating, at least, and it'll be interesting to see where it goes.
As long as China,
Yesterday,
until Iran calls China, which is their buddy, and says, "Hey, knock this shit off."
there was a room just for this purpose to raise awareness. This female was shot or killed because of the exposure to the hair without hijab, and in the Himalayan Soul Room, all the Iranian Persian community came in, raised their flags and prayed for her, and also held the entire room for this. So, Tina, yeah, that's true. She was killed because of this reason, and people are protesting against it.
Very cool.
I think
Okay.
personally, I just like the fact that they're using tech and they're using this way to sort of build community globally.
Alrighty.
Well, what is interesting is what if more revolutions were actually started and operated by women? So versus men, and would we have a lot faster change in the world, possibly for the better? We'll see.
Okay. On that deep thought, we will meet again tomorrow.
Yes.
Thank
Ben's
you.
room will be starting in like